Mr. President, it's time to pass the torch. This is the warning. A lot of people don't really understand the purpose of the national conventions. The Republican Party and the Democratic Party are both institutions, political parties. Respectively, the Democratic and Republican parties are the first and third oldest in the world. And these parties exist to put forward candidates, to nominate them, to advance political power. Every 4 years, these parties, under their rules, meet. The purpose of their meeting is to nominate a candidate for president of the United States. And so the next meeting will take place this summer. The Republicans will convene in Milwaukee, the state that birthed the Republican Party, and the Democrats will convene in Chicago, the site of their 1968 convention that went off the rails. If Joe Biden were to say, I retire, there are rules, and those rules would throw open the convention. And what that would mean is all of the people who voted for Joe Biden in the primary, those delegates attached to those votes would be released from their obligation to vote for Biden on the first ballot. The people who nominate the president are not the voters in the primary. They are the delegates at the convention. So there is that scene always where the people in the funny hats gathered around the sign say the great state of California, home to the world's best avocados, home to Lake Tahoe. And they go on about the superlatives of their state, put forward the delegates. In the corner of the screen, there's a counter. And at the moment, the nominee, or presumptive nominee, more accurately, crosses that threshold, they become the nominee of their party. And then historically, they walk out onto a stage and they give a speech and they say these words. They have to accept the nomination. So they say, I accept your nomination to be president. So what makes Joe Biden the Democratic candidate is not winning the delegates in the primaries. It's the vote of those delegates at the convention to nominate him. And so if the president says, I will not seek and I will not accept my party's nomination, what that will do is release the obligations of those delegates to vote for Biden on the first ballot, and they can vote for different candidates. It may be that the Democratic convention would become something where 5 or 6 leading candidates give hour-long speeches. It would not be scripted. It would be a live unfolding event. It would all play out in the back room. And the leaders of the Democratic Party would have to do some old-fashioned politicking to assemble the requisite number of delegate votes to nominate somebody who could beat Donald Trump. There's something important to remember about the political parties. Their purpose is not necessarily practice democracy. It is to preserve democracy. Lots of America's greatest leaders were picked by delegates in the back room. That's how this nomination would go down. The good news is, beyond the Democratic gerontocracy, there are a legion of young, vibrant, vital candidates. Maybe Wes Moore and Abigail Spanberger would be the Democratic ticket that could beat Trump. The truth of the matter is, almost any combination of coherent Democrats beats Donald Trump. The truth is, the man who's holding on to power, Joe Biden, may be one of the only Democrats in the country who could conceivably lose to the worst president in American history. Donald Trump attacked Joe Biden as a criminal. And Trump's a convicted felon. And Biden sat there frozen and outraged. Couldn't make a joke, couldn't laugh it off, couldn't pivot, just taking and absorbing the punches. It was a horrifying spectacle. Nimbleness is required. Eloquence is required. This moment requires this. Let me close with a reminder of what politics should be. Let's listen to the words of the man that Joe Biden said inspired him to a life of public service. John Kennedy.
Let the word go forth from this time and place to friend and foe alike that the torch has been passed to a new generation of Americans born in this century tempered by war, disciplined by a hard and bitter peace, proud of our ancient heritage, and unwilling to witness or permit the slow undoing of those human rights to which this nation has always been committed.
Mr. President, it's time to pass the torch. This is The Warning. I'm Steve Schmidt. This is The Warning, and I invite you to subscribe on our Substack, on our YouTube channel. Follow us. Welcome to the community.